New landlord-tenant laws are taking effect July 1st, 2026. If you own a rental property in Virginia, you need to understand these changes now, because if you don't know about these updates, they could absolutely cost you time and money. I'm Rachel Olson.
And I'm Cindy Greenya with the Talbot Greenya Group and Covenant Real Estate Management. We teach our clients how to leverage real estate to grow long-term wealth strategically. And one of the biggest mistakes that we see owners believing is that the hard part ends once a lease agreement is signed. It's absolutely not true. The real work is the management process, the notices, and legal timelines involved, the lease language and documentation requirements, the move-in and the move-out conditions, the security deposit, accounting, and the disposition of the security deposit, remaining compliant when the laws change.
Today, we want to walk through 3 specific changes to the Virginia tenant landlord law under the VRLTA beginning July 1st, 2026. The VRLTA stands for the Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, and it applies to most residential rentals in Virginia. As always, we want to be very clear. This video is for informational purposes only. It is not legal advice. I strongly recommend verifying any legal questions with a licensed Virginia real estate attorney or directly through lis.virginia.gov, which is the official source for Virginia legislation.
Let's start with change number 1, the pay or quit notice extension. This is a big one. One of the biggest changes taking into effect is the extension of the pay or quit timeline for the non-payment of rent. A pay or quit notice is a notice of non-compliance, and it's the formal written notice required before a landlord can begin eviction proceedings for unpaid balances of rent. Under the current law, the notice period is only 5 days, but now legislation has been passed through the Virginia General Assembly that more than doubles the waiting period from 5 days to 14 days before legal action for termination can begin, and that is a very significant shift for landlords.
As a landlord, your highest priority is collecting rent consistently and on time. So this means owners need to become even more proactive with rent collection systems, notice timelines, and lease enforcement from the very beginning of the tenancy.
Now let's move on to change number 2, payment methods and prohibited fees. Under this legislation, landlords will now be required to accept rent and security deposit payments by check and money order. The law also limits certain payment-related fees to the landlord's actual processing costs. That means landlords cannot charge more than what the payment method truly costs to process out of pocket, such as a direct credit card fee. The law also restricts maintenance and repair fees, unless the repair was caused directly by a tenant violating the lease agreement. And that is an important operational change, especially for self-managed landlords who may have older lease language that's already in place.
Now let's talk about change number 3 and what we may anticipate in 2027. Statements of charges and accounting requirements. Under this proposed direction, tenants may be allowed upon written request to require landlords to provide a statement of charges within 10 business days. That includes charges and payments for rent and utility related balances. So if your bookkeeping and documentation systems are not organized and current already, this could be extremely problematic very quickly. Now let's talk about what all of this actually means practically.
So if you own rental property in Virginia and you're managing the property yourself, you need to be prepared for these amended timelines. Notices are going to need to be amended, and compliance requirements are going into effect almost immediately. You need to know your lease agreement thoroughly. You need to review the fee structures carefully, and you need to understand accepted payment methods and ensure that your system aligns with current Virginia landlord-tenant law.
And if all of this feels overwhelming, that may be a signal that it's time to consider working with a professional rental management company. Because professional property management is about much more than collecting rent. A strong property manager is there to help protect the asset itself, to keep processes consistent and documented, and to help owners avoid expensive mistakes.
At CREM, reviewing procedures and documentation is simply a part of how we operate because a rental business is still a business and it needs to be treated like one. So if you're not sure whether your current systems are compliant with all the upcoming legal changes, maybe you're tired of managing the headaches. This is a really good reason to get a second set of eyes involved before a compliance issue becomes an expensive one. If you own rental property anywhere from Loudoun County, Virginia to Winchester or throughout the northern Shenandoah Valley, we would love to connect with you and discuss how we help owners relieve the pressure of navigating these landlord-tenant laws. Let's schedule a time to connect soon. At the Talbot Greenya Group and Covenant Real Estate Management, we believe real estate is more than a transaction. It's part of a long-term wealth plan.